Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from beautiful Goa in South India, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India, everybody, here live with Jiva G Life Coaching and the Bright Light of Vermont, Kelly Skinner, and, of course, Mara spinning the dials and spinning her knitting sticks while we're at it. Just like the old days, Mara. Remember? She was knitting on the first Wisdom of the Sages show, I think. Hi, Kastuba. How are you?
Doing pretty good, Raghunath.
Check in with me. What's it going like over there in the other part of South India?
Quiet day today, restful day, like that.
Restful?
Yeah, tomorrow I think I'm going to try to visit the Padmanabh Swami Temple in Trivandrum in Tiruvananthapuram.
Ooh, we were just talking about that today. Remember, ladies? We were just talking Padmanabha. Everybody say that. Padmanabha. It's the lotus, the Padma that grows from the Nabha. That was a Krishna miracle. And you know, the cool thing about that temple is there's, sometimes in temples there'll be 3 different altar doors.
Yeah.
They have 3 doors, but it's a massive deity. So you open one door, you get his head. One door, you get his belly, and the one door, you get his feet.
Yeah, it's Lord Vishnu lying down, right?
Yeah, so it's very cool.
So you got his head in one door, you get his navel with the
Nabha,
with the lotus growing from it.
Yeah,
and then you get the feet at the other end. But it's a very ancient temple. We've been there before. Very beautiful temple, very historic.
Very, very beautiful, very ancient. And the New York Times did something about it about 12 years ago, because the government got mixed up with the temples of India. Certain point, and they started making them reveal their treasures, and they made them open two of the 3 vaults. The Cobra vault, they say, is still. They said there were so much gold coins they couldn't even count them. They just had to weigh them. Yeah. Treasures of these temples.
And I heard that this is the story as I've heard it, right? That about 12 years ago, sometime like that, there was all this controversy about should they open it up, and the traditional people say no, that belongs to the Lord, you leave it there. And these kind of politicians are like, no, we're going to take it. So one person in particular was really spearheading it, and when they broke into the doors the next day, died. Right?
There you go, the curse.
That was bad. But nobody had the chutzpah. I don't know, the audacity to open up the door with the cobra on it.
Yeah, the Cobra vault.
The politicians are afraid to open that one.
Yeah,
but I heard that they were returning it or something recently. I heard something like that. I got to.
You know what? Get to the bottom of this, Kastuba. Get to the bottom of it.
Although honestly, that's not so important to me. More important to me is this temple and this this is Lord Vishnu, and it goes back like King Kulashekar. This great Vaishnava, was very connected with this temple. He wrote that Mukundamala Stottra, these very beautiful prayers. He's one of the Alwars, one of the 12 Alwars, one of the 12 great Bhakti poets going, back, centuries, many centuries, in the Sri Vaishnava tradition. Beautiful sentiments they share in their poetry.
It's interesting that.
So I want to go there. to see the Lord. Yeah.
Sometimes we hear about like
Go ahead.
scholars or modern people want to translate these books of the hours or books of Mirabai, love songs of Mirabai. But unless you're a devotee, they make no sense. You know what I mean? Sort of like the Lord of the Hill is my, it makes no sense. If you're a Krishna Bhakta, then hearing the poetry of these great saints, that means so much. You can fall in love. It invokes bhakti in your heart. But just to analyze it for, oh, how poetic, it just sort of misses something. All this stuff is supposed to invoke bhakti in the heart. And all of these people, who were they? They were cultured artists, cultured, poets or songwriters or singers or etc. It's interesting. It's beautiful.
Kulashekar, he was a king, right? He was a powerful king, but he was a poet as well. And maybe we should. I'm tempted just to do that. Mukundamala Stocha, maybe tomorrow, the day that I go there.
Do a show maybe tomorrow. You're going to go to see the deity tomorrow.
That's the plan. Yeah,
you jump in a rickshaw.
They don't. It's a temple where they don't let Westerners in, right? They don't, unless you're born here. They don't let you in. But
I got snuck in twice.
Yeah, well, it's not even snuck, right? It's like we have official permission. ISKCON devotees have official permission from the king.
From the king.
And the king, they let us in. So I got to go through that. I got to make sure that I've got that all set up. And it looks like I just received a message even while we're on the show here from someone that I think is going to help me do that. And so I plan to go tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Maybe we do that Mukundamala Stocha tomorrow. Wouldn't that be nice?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Well, what are we doing tomorrow?
Probably listening to the Cranberries out there on the beach.
Might go for a boat ride. How about that? Sort of spiritual, ocean spiritual.
Okay.
I see God in the ocean.
Okay. I don't need a temple. Nature is my temple.
Nature is my God. Kostuba, that's my altar.
Okay. All right, Raghu.
All right, my friends.
So we start a new chapter today, which is exciting. But first, we need to hear from Mara, the announcements, right?
Mara, what's going on in the world?
Well, we have back to recovery group meetings today at 1 and 2 p.m. Our show is going to be at this time, 6:30 a.m. Eastern time all week long. And tomorrow at 10 a.m., we have a new asana class with Ariel for our Patreon members.
Okay.
Ariel got initiated. Her name is Radha Dasi.
Great name.
Congratulations.
Great name. Well, that's a jackpot. Congratulations. Okay. Oh, yeah, we want to give a shout out of Hare Krishna to one of our Zoomers who had a mild stroke, Bob and the kid.
Yeah,
we're going to give a Hare. Let's all chant the Maha Mantra together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, let's all just give thousands and thousands of prayers for recovery and may whatever happens to us, good or bad, bring us closer to Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
All right. Ready for some secret mantras?
I am.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Do this, Mayor.
Reading from Canto 5, Chapter 5, Text 1.
Woo!
What's the name of the chapter?
Lord Rishabhadev's teaching to his sons.
Okay. So, Raghunath, throughout all of this Vedic literature talks about like the incarnations of Krishna or Lord Vishnu, the different ways that he comes.
Yeah.
And so one way, as we're hearing about today, comes as Rishabdev, right? He takes birth of this king, um, and but he's really come to teach. You know, it's like a way of all these different incarnations, they come to kind of reestablish like stability, you know, kind of set things straight. And so this is just one of his ways of doing things. He comes, you know, to perform this Leela where he takes on this form, but he's going to share teachings, and these teachings will become a lot of fundamental stuff, you know, a lot of good, strong, fundamental teachings from Bhagavatam. Actually, Rishabdev's teachings began a whole new branch of a whole new religion, right? The Jains.
Sure.
Began with Rishabdev's teachings.
You know, it's sort of like the earth becomes polluted with these kings or with these leaders who are misdirecting people, causing havoc, almost like a storm comes, you know, every year or every few years, you get like you know, floods of rain in California, or washes away parts of the PCH, Highway 1, or it happens in the Himalayas all the time. And then, of course, they come through with the bulldozers and they clean it up and they make it straight and they fix the potholes and they plow off the boulders. And this is what this idea of Lord Vishnu is doing. He's appearing and appearing whenever things are getting hectic, out of hand, a little bit too much for the world, for people to take. Everything gets stirred up, and then the Lord descends. And when he descends, just recalibrates everything, and the devotees become enlivened. And so this
now,
is Rishabhadev.
And so this is something that, I mean, you know, within the tradition, we say this was spoken many, I mean, way back, you know, like a ridiculously long time ago.
Like these are the histories of the
millennia.
Within this ancient book, this is a history that happened millennia ago.
And
sort of cool.
And so, yeah, and I was thinking, you know, that so you can picture this incredibly beautiful king, you know, who's Lord Vishnu himself, he sat his sons down. He's going to speak to them, share his teachings, and then walk away, right? And so these and what he spoke, what he vibrated at that time, has passed through so many centuries, and for many of our listeners, it'll reach their ears for the first time today when they hear this podcast. You know,
very interesting.
Yeah, somehow this is, you know, it says something when something stands the test of time like that. So
we're still listening. We're still here.
And these are some strong. The first 3 verses of this chapter, which is probably just what we'll cover today, they deal with understanding the importance, the value of being born in a human body, right? Which is like a rarity, because if you look at all the different, there's so many species, right? But in this one, you know, in this human form, you really have a rare opportunity to break the cycle, to practice yoga, to try to understand, what is this all about? What am I meant to learn from all this? How can I become free? You know, free from these cycles, free from suffering.
You know, it's only devotees who ever talk. It's only devotees who ever talk like this too. You know, because the whole idea of like, the rarity of being born a human. It's like people don't think of that usually. Or if they do get into reincarnation, they're like, you know what? I'd sort of rather be a seagull, or I'd rather be a lizard, or I feel my animal body to be that of an elephant. You know, but we're like, no. Human body, rare, important. You can become liberated in this body. It's like a special. It's like getting a special. What's a good analogy for this? Special ticket. A special ticket. A golden ticket. The human species is like a golden ticket. And from this golden ticket, you can evolve or you can devolve. You're not bound any more necessarily by animal instinct.
Yeah, actually, in the set, you're thinking like Lord of Shabdev, because like by the time he gets to the second, I think it's the second verse, he's saying, there's 2 dwaras, there's 2 gates. You know, when you're in the human birth, you can choose the door to liberation, or you can choose the door that he calls I think it's the, what is it called again? I think it's called
the dungeon.
Here it is, the Tamadwaram.
Door to Tamas.
The dark door, you know. That must be the Cobra one. You know?
Yeah.
They say
so
there's a bright door.
Nightclubs we used to hang out to in the old days.
Welcome to the dark door.
The dark door.
We're the dark door.
All right, let's see what. Let's reel it in, Kastuba. We're going to talk about Lord Rishabhadev. You ready? This is text 1. I love reeling Kastuba in.
I was on the subject though.
Text 1, ready? Lord Rishabhadev told his sons, "My dear boys, all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, of all living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world." Let's try that again. One who has been awarded this human form of life.
Like, is Dad drunk right now or something like that?
Dad's drinking again.
Let me start that again. All right,
boys, sit around, listen. One who has been awarded this human form of life should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available, right? Who's it available for? The dogs and the hogs. What do they do? They eat stool. Okay. Dogs and the hogs just eat stool. It's like dogs and hogs eat stool. Don't be just like a dog and a hog. A hog.
Dog and
right?
a hog.
We're meant for higher purposes here. Everybody feels that way. It's a natural feeling. I've got a potential. I'm not living my potential. If you've ever felt that, this verse is for you. Okay? Yeah. One should engage in penance and austerity.
Okay,
sounds
that's
boring.
The alternative. Yeah.
Right. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain divine position of bhakti. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and then one attains this position, he attains eternal, blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness, and which continues forever. I got to tell my story now, Kastuba. Remember I told you I had a wise story?
All right.
Beginning of the show, and you're like, don't tell it. We don't need it. Now I think it fit right into this verse without planning it. I'm going to accept it as a Krishna miracle.
Let's hear it.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So there was a king and a queen, and they had like 5 children, and they were very powerful, very wealthy, and immediately their kingdom got attacked. Not immediately, but over time their kingdom got attacked, and they killed the parents, and the children got put into hiding by the citizens, and a new king took over. And so the baby,
there was a true story.
I don't know if it was true, but
it's got a good story. Where'd you get this?
It's got a good
moral.
This guy, he thinks my whole life is a comic book. Thinks my whole life is a damn comic book. Okay, am I unfrozen? Okay, can I continue, sir? So listen,
please do.
Okay, so anyway, the little baby girl gets given to some peasants, and the peasants raise her as a potato farmer. So every day she'd just dig. As she'd get a little older, she'd dig and she'd clean off the potatoes and pick off the eyes of the potatoes. And then, Mara. Anyway, one day, she didn't know her identity, but one day this lady came out of the forest, lives in the forest, says to the little girl, she says, "Do you know who you are?" She says, "Yeah, I'm the son of the daughter of this peasant. And do you tell me more about who you are?" "Well, I'm the daughter of a peasant and I'm a potato picker." She goes, "No, you're actually the princess. You're the princess. And your parents tried to save you and they gave you away before and they were killed." And then she thought to herself, "I'm the princess. I'm the princess. I'm the princess." She still picked potatoes, but she understood her actual value. So the moral of the story is, sir, the moral of the story is that in material world, this is where I was getting with this verse. In the material world, transcendental information is above good karma. Good karma got the parents killed, right? They wanted to kill the entire royal family. They only caught the parents. That good karma can end up ruining your life. At the same time, bad karma doesn't mean you're a loser. You might feel like, I'm a material loser, I'm picking potatoes. No, you were saved. The real thing is there's a value that we all have that's separate than our good and bad karma. And that worth is from our very birth. Why? Because we're part of Lord Vishnu. What do you think of that story, Harry Bull?
It's a lovely story, but could you tie it into this verse? I didn't quite.
Yeah, I did, because I was saying that.
Okay, I missed it.
You missed it. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain divine position of bhakti. By such activity, one's heart is purified and one attains this position, eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and distress and continues forever. So it doesn't matter. The material happiness was, you're a princess. No, princess means you're going to get killed. That's how I tied it in. What do you think about that?
All right,
Little
great.
bridge. I had to make a little bridge to get there, but okay. You want to share anything about that, sir?
Well, we just yesterday we had that question from Yamuna Jelly in her sage group, right? About like sometimes it seems like materialists are more happy than the spiritualists out there,
Yeah.
And we mentioned that when we're talking about a different type of happiness, right? That certainly there is a type of happiness within the material realm. There are pleasures to be found in this world, but there's something about them that needs to be that a wise person notes. That this type of happiness, it has a beginning and an end. It comes, it goes. It appears for a while, then it disappears. Now, we might make the assumption, yeah, of course, that's life. That's how things work, right?
Sure.
But what these yogis are telling us is, no, actually, that's not how it works. That's just how it works within the realm of one type of energy, within material energy. That's how it works. But there's another happiness. It's a happiness that is the nature, just like it was the nature of that girl to be the princess, right? Even though she didn't know it. If you told her you're the prince, it's like, what are you talking about? No, life is like potato picking. No. There's more. You don't even know it. It's available to you. The door is open to it. You just have to walk through that door, And so similarly, we all, what these texts like Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, they're telling us is that we all have this spiritual nature, which is eternal. So when he says here that he says, don't try for the happiness that even the hogs and the dogs are going for, right? It's a low level happiness.
Dogs want to eat something. They want to mate. That's it. Eating and mating.
Stuff. But because you have a potential, just like that princess, you don't even know the potential that you had. You have the potential for what he calls here. He says, Yasmad Brahma Saukyam Fanantam. You have the potential for spiritual happiness, which never ends. It's anantam. There's no end to it. Brahma Saukyam.
If I ask you, what's think of some of the best times in your life? Where does your consciousness go to?
Best times in my life, I suppose it goes to maybe my times in the Holy Dham.
In a holy place. Services. And now if you analyze that by material standards with a material lens, you're like, well, was it whatever? Was it the perfect weather? Were you like under a waterfall? Or was it aesthetically everything was perfect? Maybe not. Maybe not. It was something else you were experiencing.
Yeah. Something
more subtle.
Sure. Yes, Brahma Saukyam, right? Spiritual happiness. Yasmad Brahma Saukyam Tvanantam. From which it's from this Tapo Divyam, right? He says you should be performing penance and austerity that leads to Divyam, that leads to the divine, right? That leads to the spiritual energy. And he says, Yena Sattvam Sudhyed, that by such activity, one's heart is purified, right? That's your potential, right? Saying it's kind of like poetic and it sounds beautiful to say like your heart is purified.
Right.
In this sense, what that means is that the desires that you hold in your heart now, which are problematic, which are focused at the temporary, it becomes purified of that, and your true spiritual desire underneath arises. And so that's what can be achieved through Tapo Divyam. You have the opportunity for performing or for taking up something a little troublesome, right? Taking up something, like discipline, self-discipline, that's aiming at the eternal. That's your potential. He's saying he's got 100 sons sitting there, right? He's about to walk off to the mountains, and he's telling them, you all have the potential for this type of happiness. It's within you, and don't waste this opportunity as a human being. It would be a shame to lose it.
All right, let's move on with this.
Actually, Prabhupada writes a little something here in the commentary.
Yes, purport next.
Yeah. Sure. Well, it's kind of like Prabhupada, the way that I see this is it's kind of like his heart bleeding a little bit, His heart, like looking at modern man, and his heart bleeding a little bit
Right.
for them. He says people are being educated and trained to work very hard. Ask yourself, every one of us should ask ourselves, am I one of these people? You know, people are being
Right.
educated and trained to work very hard for sense gratification. And there is no sublime aim in life. A man, listen to this, a man travels to earn his livelihood, leaving home early in the morning, catching a local train, and being packed into a compartment. He has to stand for an hour or two in order to reach his place of business. Then again, he takes the bus to get to the office. At the office, he works hard from 9 to 5. Then he takes 2 or 3 hours to return home. A lot of people do live like this. You know?
I know it is.
After eating, he has sex. Then he goes to sleep.
If they're lucky.
If they're lucky.
If they're lucky. Yes.
He says, for all this hardship, this is what Prabhupada says. He says, for all this hardship, his only happiness is a little sex. He says, like, he's giving his
Angle.
his angle as someone that's tasting a different type of happiness, and he's looking at it saying the way that we look at it. You know, it says the hogs and dogs that eat stool. Sometimes we actually see dogs do it, right? And in India, you can actually see the hogs.
Are you kidding?
Yeah,
dogs
guess
sniff their own
I don't know.
stool all the time.
Yeah. And what to speak of hogs that are just like they're fully into it, big time. That's like
Hogs love
their
it.
main meal. So to him, he's looking at the lives of the average person and just saying and hurting it within, saying there's so much more available to us. Don't miss it. You know, don't miss
Right.
this opportunity.
And as Kali Yuga gets more progressive, it just gets grosser. Me and Mara are walking on this really charming little road, and they were just like it's like a little lane, but there's no cars on it. It's like a 1-car lane, not one tuk-tuk lane. And to the right are these like simple homes, and in the distance, just there's just like papaya and coconut trees, and behind that is a field with water buffaloes grazing, and everything is green, and then beautiful mountains. I'm thinking, this is breathtaking. What an incredible backyard. But still, I was thinking 70 years ago, it probably wasn't paved. It was probably just, an oxen road where you'd bring an oxen. I mean, 70 years ago, that same place would be like even more breathtaking. And that's how the whole world lived 170. What am I talking about? That's not a long time ago anymore. I'm like 100 years ago or 120 years ago. How breathtaking things must have been before the automobile was stinking up the roads and before everything was paved. And, and it's not just India, Puerto Rico, Switzerland, Germany, United States. It was these things were breathtaking. Kali Yuga, advances, and everything is just expanding. The Ugra Karma, the horrible works are just expanding. Bombay must have been beautiful. Calcutta was 3 villages. New York City was probably a lot more charming 100 years ago.
It was heartbreaking to see the pollution in Mumbai.
Oh my God. They don't even call it pollution anymore. They call it smoke.
Here, I know. It's so extreme. It's like you're looking around and the whole world looks hazy every day. Big time.
Every day. It's like some dystopian vision of the future, and it's almost like, and the people want to enjoy. The people want to do natural things. Like we were staying on Marine Drive. So it's, it's the Arabian Sea. It's sort of like you're in Malibu driving up the Highway 1, something like that. But they're looking out to the Arabian Sea and it's smog. It's just like all smoggy. They want to enjoy, but we've destroyed the world.
That's it's like people were out there exercising and you're thinking like, is that even healthy for them to be like exercising with all this pollution in the air? Like,
I've heard that it's the equivalent of smoking a pack of cigarettes a day just to breathe in Mumbai.
Delhi, I think, is even worse. But
yeah, well, I think Mumbai's kind of caught up now. But yeah, they're both horrendous. It's such a shame.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
Prabhupada, a lot of times when he spoke about the folly of our modern world, he would refer to the cars, right? Because they're the symbol of freedom, right? Oh, once we create that thing, that car,
exactly,
we can go wherever we want, right? So it'll be
free now. Well, actually, now you got to pave all the roads, and you have these horrible things paving the roads, and the roads are always breaking and getting,
or even
and then
what
they get congested.
what he's saying here is that like, oh, this is great. I'll be able to go wherever I want. But really what it meant was, no, the way that the trend works is now you'll end up working way farther from your home
from your
than you
family.
ever would have before, right?
I mean, I
And
know
s-
just to have my kids go to a school that's 20 minutes away from me, 30 minutes away from me, then you got to go back and forth and drop them
Right.
off. It's exhausting. It exhausts you just in the process of the normal things. There used
Right.
to be, and after the collapse, it's going to be, everything's going to be a little bit more organic. Your best friends, bright lights going, what collapse? The whole thing is collapsed already. Come on. What do you mean, what collapse? You can't even drink the water. It's smog in the air. The ocean's polluted. What more? Do we have to spell this out for you, bright light? You're living in Vermont. Everything's perfect and clean. God.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real disadvantage in life to have to travel for an hour or more to get to work. I mean, that's and a lot of people live that way.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Yeah. So anyway, things are going to happen more in like a community. People who live and we grow our food together. And we want some food from New York City. You can ship down our apples to New York City, and Kostuba's going to have a garden on his roof. It's going to have to even out. It's getting too extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Raghunath.
All right.
Text 2.
Alrighty. Mary
Now,
lost
this
my
text
pen.
is going to begin to define what is a Mahatma, great soul.
Okay, good. This is interesting. Text 2, one can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. That, my friend, is a t-shirt. It's a
Okay.
mug. It's a tattoo. Well, I'm
Right.
going to read that again. One can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. Boo!
Oh, Mahat
Hear it.
Sevam. Right.
Learn it, live it, give that.
That
These
means yeah, the term
ahead.
here is Mahat Sevam, meaning service to the Mahatma, to the great soul.
Hmm.
And then it says that's Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes.
That's
That
the door.
becomes the door. The Dwara means the door. That's
Right.
I guess as a word nerd you'd say Dwara. The word door comes from Dwara.
That's where door comes, right?
Yeah.
Haridwar,
So-
Haridwar. The
door to
Singha
Hari.
Dwara at Jagannath Puri.
Yeah. So it says, Mahat Sevam, service to these great souls. That becomes the Dwaram, the door to Vimukte, the door of liberation.
So
Okay,
cool.
That's the first line of this verse. Then it says, Tamo Dwaram, Yoshitam Sangi Sangam.
Uh-oh. The
So now
dark
here's
door.
the dark door, literally the dark door, right? Tamo Dwaram. Yoshitam. Let's see. Yoshitam. Oh, this is heavy. Okay, read the whole thing and we'll get into the Sanskrit.
All right. There's some dark things going on in this world. We don't
Yeah.
focus on them so much. If we had jobs where we focused on it, like if we were cops or detectives, or you'd be like, what the hell's going on out there? I can't believe people are doing some horrible things. I'm like, let's find some papayas. That's where my head's at. And so therefore I'm not thinking of the dark things, but there's some dark things, right, Mara?
Human trafficking.
Human trafficking. Yes. Thank you, Mara.
That was rather dark, Mara.
She went right to the darkest thing. It must be on her mind. Okay. Text 2, one can attain the these personalities. Who are these Mahatmas? These personalities are impersonalists and devotees.
Two types of
Whether-
people that are moving towards liberation. Yeah.
Yes. Whether one wants to merge into the Lord's existence or wants to associate with the personality of Godhead, those are the options. One should render service to the Mahatmas. For those who are not interested in such activities, who associate with people fond of women and sex or men and sex or just anything or going to strip
we
clubs
can
or porn,
Okay.
the path to hell, I like this, it gets real Christian now. The path to hell is wide open.
Highway to hell, right there.
It's a highway to hell. It's an express train to hell. Now, if you get scared by that word, like, what are we talking about? The highway to hell? Yes. And if anyone's been addicted to sense gratification. I'm sitting across from Jiva G Life Coaching. She can give a whole soliloquy, I like that word, on the problems with, breaking the regulative principles, not being able to control your senses, highly addictive stuff, downward spiral. It could be drinking, it could be drugs, it could be sex addiction, all these things. You don't believe in hell? You don't believe a little guy with horns named Hot Stuff? Yeah, do heroin. You're going to be in hell. Come home drunk, drunk driving. You're going to go into prison. Kill somebody, drunk driving. You're going to hell. That's hell on earth. Sex addiction, pornography, a strip club. That's like being hell on earth. We've created hell on earth. You don't have to believe in hell. This is hell. Anyone who's been through addiction knows it's real. Or you hang out with someone that's addicted to something. You'll be like, what the hell did you do with your body and your life? What happened to you? Come on. Don't let these words freak you out.
What is that? Sorry. Was it Bad Religion that had that record? How could hell be any worse?
How could hell be any worse? It can get real bad. It can get real bad.
Okay. So, no, but I'm saying that's agreeing with what you're saying. Like there's hell in this world, right?
Thank you. Bad Religion.
But I wanted to, before we even finish this verse, I wanted to address what we've covered so far, where it says that, because we gotta slow down and address this, right?
I was going to tell you to slow it down a little bit.
Let's just slow it down a bit.
Pull it back.
It says that for those who are not interested in such activities, right, who are not interested in rendering service to great souls, I'm not interested in the bright door that leads to liberation and freedom. I'm interested in the dark door.
No.
Now,
I mean the dark door after hours
with Cobra on it, and so so it's describing what that dark door looks like, right? And the way Prabhupada translated it away here, but I don't want it to be misunderstood, so I want to look into the Sanskrit. He said, for those who are not interested in serving the great souls, who associate with people fond of women and sex, the path to hell is wide open. Now, this is real important that we get this straight. It's not saying that it's bad to be fond of women, right? What he's saying is that he's saying that they're fond of exploiting women, right, for sex.
Right.
That's this is the point, right? So it says Yoshitam, right? Yoshitam means of women. And then it says Sangi Sangam, right? So Sangha means like, it literally, the word Sangha is sometimes translated as attached, right? Or attachment. Like, in other words, when things stick together, when they come together, we call that Sangha. So it can mean the people that we associate with are our Sangha, because we come together. And it can also refer to the attachments that we hold in our mind and our heart. So here it's saying that one who is attached to people who are attached, you could say, to women, meaning exploiting women, not being fond of women as a sex of people, but being
as
fond of
a
exploiting women,
queen, as a goddess. Yeah. For example, I had an old friend I ran into once, and I said, hey, I was married, I had some kids. I said, hey, I haven't seen you in so many years. Like, are you married? And his response was so classic. He goes, no, I'm not married. I love women too much. And I was thinking, oh, I get it. You're a child. You are like a child man with a child consciousness. You love women, meaning you love to associate with lots of different women. You can never actually love any of them, because you don't even know what love is yet. You're still like in the candy store, like a teenager.
Right. So what Rishabh is telling his sons is that there's one door. That means you're associating with great souls and you're serving them. You will find the deepest happiness through that service, right? It will be revealed that this is what real meaning is. Or the other door is people like the guy that you're talking about, right? That says the purpose to life is to exploit women's bodies for my pleasure. That's called the dark door here. Yoshitam Sangi Sangam.
There's some dark places men can go with sex too. Can I tell you? I remember like being on a few times. You're like,
oh, slow down. Let's slow this down again. Where are you going?
Let's pull it way back.
How dark are you going?
My parents, very rarely did I ever get a hotel room growing up. I don't think ever in my life, except maybe twice with my parents on a trip. But one time they all, we went to Washington, D.C. or something, and they all went out, and I'm left. And, ever turn on the TV in a hotel? I don't think it's like that anymore. But you turn it on, and it's sort of like late night, and it's like, oh, and you're left with this
They
like
had that stuff when you were a
remote.
kid?
Yeah, they have these things on TV. It's just like porn, haunting porn, like that comes right on for any
How
kid to
old
see
are
it.
you,
It's like,
Raghunath?
and I was like maybe 16. I was like 16, but it was just I didn't watch it, but it was like it's so tempting to your lowest self. And you get people who are like, who are guys in a hotel room? They're lonely. They're away from their family. It's completely anonymous. You know, no one to check up on you. You know, it's sort and then all of a sudden you're getting drawn in. Who's gonna know? It's, you know, especially the time before internet. This was like sort of like, you know, if you don't have those boundaries, even if people do have good boundaries, when you're put in that situation, it goes against a lot of people's temptations. So that's a dark door. You feel something dark pulling you.
We don't talk about porn on the show very much.
We should.
We should. But yeah, because it's a dark door that practically the majority of men are walking through on a regular basis, right?
It's become very they try to normalize it. Matter of fact, you'll see this lately. They're really trying to normalize porn, and it will ruin your intimacy, men out there. It will ruin your intimacy. It will ruin your relationships. It'll even ruin your sexuality. You'll actually, and I knew too many people who got addicted to it. I knew devotees who could not control their senses and left the temple and had to live a whole secret life. And this is what all addiction. Well, that's what addiction does in general. You're as sick as your secrets. You're ashamed of this, and no one will feel good. No one will feel good when you break these natural laws. You'll feel sick to yourself. Why? Because you're not living with integrity. Just if I steal on a regular basis, I put my hand in my mom's purse and steal money. You will not feel good when you break integrity. Why? Because when you do unworthy things, you will not have self-worth. That's the simple math here. So when you do these things where you're looking at people as objects for your enjoyment, what is a woman? A woman is treat a woman like a goddess. Treat a woman like a spirit soul. Don't reduce them to a piece of flesh for your enjoyment, just like candy in a candy store. It's dehumanizing. It's the doorway to misogyny, where they're just things. Oh my God! And it's a dark story. There's always some dark side to the whole sex industry. It's not like, well, it's why she's making some money. No, it's got a whole horrible other side that we don't see behind the scenes. Come on.
No question. I mean, yeah,
no question about it.
And now, I love where you're going with this, Raghunath, because, and I'll just throw this out there, because when we do talk about porn, this is what we generally say, is we say, that's a line you don't cross, right?
Yeah.
Draw a hard line, don't cross it.
If you're struggling with that, you got to get the BRG group, and you got to draw a hard line in the sand. Okay,
and if you're not struggling
don't do this.
And if you're not struggling with it, draw a hard line, you know.
And if you're not struggling with it, also draw a hard line. Yes. And if you're struggling with it a little, draw a hard line.
Draw a hard line.
Everybody is drawing a hard line here.
All right. So now, but this is real important, and it's relating to what you were saying, Raghunath. You were saying that if you're ingesting that stuff, if you're taking that in through your eyes and ears, very powerful visions and sounds, you know. They're working their way deep, and what they're doing is they're directly going to how you view 50% of the population. And what we're going to hear now is that now there's going to be the contrasts as this verse continues, going from this Yoshita Sangi, you know, men who are attached to exploiting women, and that being presented as this dark door. Now it's going to talk about the vision of the people who aren't caught up in that, right? The vision of these great souls, the Mahatmas. Right. And what it's going to reveal is it's going to use this term, samachitta. Samachitta. So chitta means one's consciousness, one's awareness, and it's very similar to like samadarshana. We use this term, right? Equal vision, seeing every living being as their soul, rather than seeing the differences based on the body. Right. And so this samachitta is the same kind of idea, right? That these great souls, because they haven't become yoshita sangi, because they haven't allowed the attitude of the exploitation of women for sex to enter into their consciousness, into their mind, they have a mind, a chitta, that is sama, that is even, I can see the soul, whether this person is in a body that's shapely or a body that's not shapely, I'm seeing the soul, right? I have that sama chitta. This is what the yogi needs. This is what every human being needs to move towards liberation.
Jake used this expression on the board. He said it ruins many women's understanding of how a man should be. See these porn-fed men.
Brutal.
We're like,
It's brutal.
men in our culture now, that we become porn-fed, and it starts to train us in our behavior, train us in what sexuality is. Therefore, you have these people who it's extra difficult to create this samadarshana. I have to see she's hot or not hot. She's like this, and there's a particular body type she should look like. And how am I trained anyway? I'm trained. It's porn fed. Grain fed. Grain fed, grass fed milk. Cows is porn fed men. It's problematic, people.
There's some a saying, maybe you know it, but it's something like when you're a hammer, you see everyone else as a nail. You've heard that before.
When you're a hammer, you see everyone else as a nail. Interesting.
Yeah, something like that. So like when you expose, and the problem is once you start exposing yourself to it, people get very addicted to it. They can't stop. So now you're watching it for every day, for hours a day. Like people just get like drawn in. And now what it's doing is it's sending you an idea of how to identify. Like you're meant to identify as the porn star, right? Like as the enjoyer of female bodies, right? Like that's you're adopting that attitude as you're watching. And then when you take that ego out into the world, then you begin to just size everyone up according to that ego, right? Is this person, it's so polluting, right? It's so polluting.
It's like polluting conversation. And just even just like not porn, but just saying she's hot. Oh, check her out. She's hot. That type of
a mild version of it. Yeah, that's Oh, did you freeze up? Did I freeze up? People, please let me know. I think Roga froze up. Yeah. So in any case, I think what Roghunath was describing was that like,
what?
Yeah. Oh, you froze up a bit. But go ahead. No problem. It's not your fault.
I was saying we've created a life. You and I have created a life. We're very select who we let into our circle, and we're the teachers, and we set the sort of the standard. But I know, just like when I used to do jujitsu a lot, I'm now in someone else's circle. So the conversation goes to like, maybe not porn, but something like, oh, she's hot. Check her out, or check her ass. Check her.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yogis
it is.
Don't talk like that.
Yogis don't talk like that. Yeah, and therefore what's happening is those conversations bring the mind to different places, and they steal the soul out of the person. Yogis talk about, this is my ladies, they're my mothers. I treat them like they're my mothers or my sisters, right? Or my daughters.
You froze for a second there again. These
I'm
are
Mr. Freeze.
Say it again. These are.
I said these other ladies are like my mothers, or like my sisters, or like I'm at that age where I can see when there's a young student of mine, I'll say, you're like a daughter. Do you mind if I adopt you as a daughter? And that establishes a relationship.
Someone who I'd never think of exploiting, right?
Exactly.
And
we're part of something good.
Yeah. And if someone were to argue, well, no, there's such a thing as like consensual relationships. It's not exploitation. No. It's like you want that body for your senses, and that desire is seeping deep into every exchange in that relationship.
The problem is, Kastub, people don't understand real happiness, and because they don't understand how to get real happy, they'll have this very, very long, detailed dead end to find happiness. Well, I think we should have open relationships, and I know we'll be committed, but this happens in not just heterosexual, it happens in the gay community as well. Well, we're married, but we also can see other men, or we can also see other women, and because we don't want to repress our desires, because repression's not good. Dead ends, people. These are all dead ends. They're not going to actually fulfill us. Right. Okay. And just the opposite. Now you've got these samskars, right? Because we're all about the mind in yoga. You've created impressions in your consciousness that are that just for one act in one evening, that are going to stay in the mind for a long time. If you want peace of mind, how do you get happy? You need peace of mind. You got to control your activities, especially those real gross activities that are going to leave like scar. That's where you get the word samskar. It's like a scar on the consciousness.
Is that where you get some scar? I'm not sure if
That's where you get, that's what scar.
Are you sure?
Kaboo!
Okay. Are you
This
sure?
is so important, this stuff. It's just so
Okay.
important. But the thing is, people have no roadmap how to be happy. They have no roadmap, and they're just wandering around.
I'm with you. You know what Sherry just shared on the chat board? She said the deeper that you get into Bhagavatam, the harder it is to be in the material world. I found it hard to have conversations with certain people. Yeah, it's like they don't get it. It's just like you said, you and I got trained when we were 21 years old. We don't talk like that. We don't
talk like that. I
we
don't talk
even
like that
go there
off
in our
duty.
conversations.
When I turn off the when I turn off the camera,
it passes
you and
the
me
hot mic
behind
test.
closed doors aren't being.
Yeah.
We're like, now how do I feel? No, we're not talking like that.
This is true.
Like,
If
look,
you
Mary,
could-
it's like,
What? Oh, you froze up again. but yeah, like you're.
Kostuba's frozen.
No, I think it was you that were frozen. Any case, can you hear me now? You're frozen, Bubba.
I'm frozen.
Yeah. Any case, I was saying, you and I and the people that we associate closely with, we would pass the hot mic tests. You know, in other words,
We would pass
you
the
don't
hot
catch
mic
us
test.
talking like that. You know,
There's two
And-
things we don't talk about. One is we're not cruel and sarcastic and rude. Like we don't get if people are finding fault. Sometimes I joke with Jiva G. Yes, but I wouldn't. We don't say offensive. We don't like to talk ill about people behind their back. We don't criticize, and we don't let the consciousness go to women or things.
Yeah.
For my enjoyment. They're
no conversation on that. Yogis don't talk like that. That's it.
Yogis don't talk like that. Knit that into your scarf.
Okay, I think it's time for. We didn't even make it through this verse. We'll get back to it tomorrow if we don't do the.
We got to
Open
1.5
Stoker.
verses.
Yeah.
Mara, what do you got? How many sex takeaways you got today?
I got some good ones.
Porn is a dark door. That's the T-shirt right there, right?
We have a rare opportunity to learn and be liberated.
That's the human form of life.
The human species is a golden ticket.
Is that something from the chocolate factory or something like
Charlie
that?
and
Is that you got
Willy
there?
Wonka.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got a golden ticket. We all have an eternal spiritual nature. Don't settle for temporary happiness.
Yeah.
Or sex.
Okay.
It's all collapsing.
It's all collapsing.
It's all collapsing, Skinner.
That's when Roganoff gets
Render
into his
service-
profit mode. You know, like it's all gonna
Render
collapse.
service to great souls.
Yeah, that's the bright door. That
It's the light, the door of light. Now back to the door of darkness.
Beware the dark doors.
Or sex.
Cobra.
Draw a hard line.
About sex.
Guys especially, they got to be
Control
hardline.
Control your activity for peace of mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And yogis don't talk like that.
Yogis don't talk like that. Yogis don't talk like that. Yeah, Mara's good. Mara's getting glorified here for making one-liners. Thanks, Mara. And thanks, Kostuba. And thanks to
Thank you,
everybody who
Ryan.
joins us live every day despite our crazy, wacky schedule. If you like what we're doing, check in with us every day. Share this stuff. Comment on this stuff. Share it with people. Tell a friend. You have a friend who's out there wandering around thinking, I need a map to life. I need a map. We can help you. It's not our map. We're not that bright. But the
Shut-Jake's
Bhagavatam's a map. Try it. If you try on that set of clothes, see how it fits. Try it for a month. Why not? Jake the Snake's trying it. Makuna Kishore tried it. Jeff Winkowski's all in. Beautiful to see you guys. If you like what we're doing, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. Everyone's doing that, even Bhakta Gravy. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We will see you tomorrow live from Goa. It is a beautiful day for a beautiful day. Check out Jiva G.